Hey guys, what is up and welcome back to my channel. I just filmed this entire thing. It probably was like 20 minutes of footage and guess what my phone did? It didn't focus on me one bit the entire time. So here we are, round two. No, but in all seriousness, I'm back. We are gonna do the first video in the series more about birth. I made a video, I will link it up here somewhere, about this series, trying to talk more about birth, more about things that we need to be prepared in for birth, and I uploaded that about 5 months ago. Then I got pregnant, so I'm currently 21 weeks pregnant with baby number 2, and we are just super excited. But I just figured this would be super helpful because I think in a lot of ways, knowledge is power. And so when we are prepared with things that we know can go down, we are gonna have a better, happier, easier labor. So I hope if you are newly pregnant or kind of towards the end or maybe in the postpartum phase, this can serve you in what is to come. So if you're new here, make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell notification so you're notified when I upload. And let's go ahead and get started. So I do have my daughter on the screen. She's taking a nap, so I hope we can get through this. And then I also have my laptop down here for all my notes. So first up, I want to go through the stages of labor just so we can understand what kind of goes down in each. Obviously, with birth and labor, things can go whatever way they want, but there is a general outline to how labor kind of goes that we know how to follow along. So up first is pre-labor. Now, pre/early labor, some people clump those together. They can kind of like intermingle, like some things may happen earlier, some might happen a little later, and that's totally cool. But I would say more pre-labor is obviously before labor begins at all. So that is usually characterized by nesting, having a little bit more energy, by baby dropping. You may notice that, some people don't, but usually you're feeling nice and big towards the end of pregnancy, and then sometimes people wake up in the morning or just have a moment in the afternoon where they realize baby is like much lower. Some people can physically feel that drop. Some people it's just like gradual and they just recognize like, oh, I can breathe a little better. I have so much more room up here. As well as, this is where it kind of can bleed into early labor, but dilation and effacement can also happen before you feel anything. Your body might be already doing that work. So more like early labor signs would include loose stool, diarrhea, the loss of your mucus plug, or having bloody show. These things usually indicate labor is near. We're getting there, we're getting ready to go. And so those are just things to be aware of. Don't panic, don't freak out, don't even get yourself worked up like, ooh, it's happening, because like in a lot of cases it still is days and days out. But for some people it really does happen right after the other, and that's amazing. But I know that can be really disappointing if you kind of have this expectation that like as soon as you lose your mucus plug, you're going into labor, and it's just not the case. It definitely was not for me. So just be prepared. The next 3 stages are early, active, and transition. Now, these are usually categorized by the centimeters of dilation that you are, and people kind of say different numbers. So I will do a general number for each. Know that other providers might have different numbers that they mark that by, and that's totally cool. So early labor is the first one, and that's gonna be 1 centimeter dilated to 4/5 centimeters. So anywhere around there, that's usually when you're in early labor. Now, the signs that come with this are pretty minimal. You might notice some cramping, but it's not gonna be anything significant. The best thing you can do in this stage is to ignore it. It's so hard, especially if you've never had a baby before. I know that was my case. Like even knowing all these things, I was like, I'm pumped, let's go. Like I was ready to have a baby. And mine was kind of man-made because I got induced, but different story if you're going into spontaneous labor, which I do recommend. That is what you need to do. Just bake some cookies, read a book, watch a movie, take a nap, like whatever you think of that would distract you, that is what you need to do. I think people get really worked up in this phase because they just get, excited and anxious, and you just don't realize like what's to come. Like you have so much more, and obviously some people's labors are a lot shorter than others, but in general, it's always best to be the most prepared. And I would say the best way to do that is to let yourself just do your thing. If you're kind of noticing them, but you're not really sure if you're in labor, that's a good indication that like you shouldn't worry about it at all, because truly you got more to come. Next up is active labor. That is when you are 5-6 centimeters dilated to 7-8. This stage of labor is an intense one. And I say that honestly because I think it's good to be prepared that it's intense, but it's also just really good work. Like, it's all really, really good. I would always reframe anything that seems negative and painful and, oh, this is terrible and the worst. Always reframe it with good things. I'll talk about that in other videos, but that is like first step. Just know that if you are heading into active labor, you're gonna feel it, but it's gonna be good stuff. In this stage of labor, you will notice that contractions might get really, really strong. They might get more intense. They might even feel like you don't have as much of a break in between them. Like, they come and then they come again, and it just feels like, oh my goodness, these are getting crazy. That's totally normal. My biggest tip here is, even if they feel like they kind of hurt or they're just more intense, don't rush to the hospital. I think that is the biggest mistake that a lot of moms make, is kind of panicking, like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling some really crazy contractions, I have to go in. Because most hospitals will not take you unless you're at that 4 to 5 into active labor centimeters dilated phase. And so it does make it challenging. Sometimes it can be really discouraging when you travel to your hospital. Some might be close, but some people travel really, really far. They get there, you know, if there's not room in the hospital, sometimes they will turn you away and say, come back when you're farther along. And that can be really, really stressful and really just such a bummer, especially if you're, you know, you felt like you were there and you're not even close. And so I would just keep that mindset. Just know, like, keep pushing through them. Know that there is more to come, but you're gonna get there. Now, in some hospitals, if they have room and they're chilling, they might let you come in when you're, you know, 3 or 4 or whatever. So you might have that option, but just know you've got some work to do. So that's active labor. The next one is transition, which is 8 to 10 centimeters dilated. Now, this is the phase. This is the one that makes everyone want to turn back, because it is the most intense phase. Like, it truly, it hits you, and this is where you hear the comments of like, I'm gonna die, I can't do this anymore, make it stop, get it out, like whatever it is. It's just like game over for most moms. Like, please, just, I can't do it anymore. And I have to say, this is like a blessing and a curse, because it is crazy, but it is also the shortest phase of labor. It goes by the quickest. So when you hit this, especially if you're in an unmedicated labor situation, just know you are so, so close to meeting your baby. I remember having that mindset of just getting to transition, because I had a water birth, and so I knew if I could just get there, I could get in the water, and that would be amazing. And so I remember I kept breathing through contractions and doing everything I could to distract myself and keep myself in this good headspace. And I remember when they checked me for that last time, I thought like, oh, I'm only gonna be at a 6 or 7, and I was at an 8. So I had trained myself to just push through it and do everything I could to focus in, and that helped me get to and then through transition. So I truly think that's like the best thing I can give you, is just know it's intense, but just know you're so, so close. Those are the phases of labor that you will in some way or another hit as you progress. And so the big question, how do you know when to go to the hospital? The general rule is 411 or 511, which means when your contractions are 4 to 5 minutes long, lasting an entire minute for an entire hour. So if you're thinking through that, an entire hour is a long time to track a contraction pattern. And so in a lot of ways, moms who have not experienced this before kind of get worked up or have no idea what's going down or why it's happening, or feeling like, oh, this is so intense. They'll have a couple really, really strong contractions and say, oh my gosh, we have to go. Like, I'm gonna have a baby. And a lot of times you'll get there and it'll be like, oh, well, we're getting there, but we're not there yet. And so my biggest, best advice, if you didn't hear anything until the end, this is it. Wait until you have a contraction that you cannot comfortably get through, as in you have to breathe straight through them, you cannot talk through them, you have to use visualization or some kind of counter pressure techniques. Like you can't do anything. And again, that's for 1 hour is when I would say that time indicator is. So know that going into it. I would also say this is another piece of advice that I want you guys to be best prepared in. A lot of moms who are planning to have an epidural, I've seen it, I've heard it, you know, moms go in saying, I don't need to prepare. Like, I'm getting that epidural, getting it stuck in my back, and I'm gonna be good. You know, I'll eat my ice chips, I'll be watching TV, I'll sleep, like it'll be the best. And a lot of moms get super caught off guard when they have to experience some very intense contractions. Remember, most hospitals won't even take you until you're in active labor. So those, again, are pretty intense contractions that you're going to have to work through. So know that even if you're going in to get medication, that's awesome, but like you're gonna still have to experience some intense contractions. So I want you guys to be as equipped in that as possible. And so I'm gonna do more videos kind of breaking all that down for you and give you everything that I've got to help you have a better, easier, smoother, faster labor. So that's all I got. I hope it was short and sweet. I hope it helped you if you are pregnant. If you liked it, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and I'll see y'all in the next video.